Okay, today I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to set up a strike indicator. First of all, what we want to do is understand what the different strike indicators are. And there's a whole bunch of different kinds. These are the Oros. These are the airlock. We have the thingamabobber here, the football strike indicator. These are White River football strike indicators. All of these are very easy to move up and down, and that's one of the really good things that you want to get in a strike indicator, the ability to move it up and down your leader. Anyway, basically you want to choose a strike indicator. You want to choose the smallest strike indicator you can for the fishing you're doing. And the way you do that is a strike indicator needs to do two things for you. You need to have it float your fly. It needs to make sure that when your fly is off the bottom, the strike indicator is still floating. The other thing is you need to be able to see it. If it doesn't float your fly or you can't see it, those are mutually exclusive, then it's worthless. Anyway, I'm going to go down to the river and I'm going to hook up probably one of these airlocks because I'm fishing for steelhead today, and one of these small airlocks. So pick the smallest one you can for the fishing you're doing. I'm going to hook one of these small airlocks onto my fly because I'm using some tungsten bead woolly buggers here, and they should definitely be able to float those. Anyway, see you in a minute. So I'm going to be fishing for steelhead today, so I'm going to be using a pretty heavy fly. This is a tungsten bead zonker that I'm going to be using. I've picked out two strike indicators of two different sizes. One's white, one's pink. One's an airlock, one's an Oros. Anyway, I want to see which one of these is going to actually float my fly. The easiest way to do that is to just take it and put it right on at the fly, where the fly is. And then throw your fly in the water. If it floats, you're good. If you're fishing a very heavily fished area, then I would say use a white strike indicator. The reason I'd use white is because these fish can be indicator shy, and these big brightly colored indicators will spook them. But white seems to do well because there's a lot of white in the water and the bubble lines and everything else that you're using. Anyway, let's go down and let's set it up so we can set the right depth for the fly. Thing you have to do when you're using a strike indicator, you need to set it up a distance from your fly that it's going to keep it in what we call a strike zone, which is just a little bit off the bottom. 2-3 inches off the bottom. If you're fishing this fly 2 or 3 inches off the bottom, you're in the strike zone. So how do you do that? Now, most of the adage is you use 1.5 times the depth of the water to set your fly up. Yeah, forget that. Okay, let's start out with figuring out how deep the water is you're going to be fishing. Look, we have a real tough time with measurement. We're fishermen. We don't know what 10 inches is. I get that. Here's what you need to do to figure out how deep the water is. What's your inseam? My inseam's 34, okay? When I look down, if my knees aren't in the water, if my knees are in the water, that's 18 inches of water. So I'm standing in maybe a foot of water right now. If you're standing crotch deep in water, I'm going to be standing in 34 or 3 feet of water. I don't want to set my strike indicator at 3 feet of water up to 4.5 feet. What I want to do is I want to start with setting it up at the approximate depth of the water. Okay, in this case, that looks about the approximate depth of the water right there. What I want to do is now move that strike indicator up about 6 inches or so and lock it in. Okay, now what I want to do is pick my spot, cast out, see if I'm ticking bottom. If I'm hitting bottom, I'm going to move the strike indicator up a little bit. So if I'm not hitting bottom, I'll move it back down. I did just touch bottom, but it seems as though, in this case, I did a pretty good job of figuring out exactly how deep I need to go. And if you notice that white strike indicator, I can see that very well, but it's mixed in with all those white bubbles. I don't think these scare the fish as much as the bright orange or chartreuse strike indicators that you use. So I like to use white as much as I can, as long as I can see it. And this is just touching bottom. If it wasn't, what I would do, and we picked up a little weed. If it wasn't touching bottom, what I would do then is move it up another 6 inches until it does touch bottom, and then move it back down about 3. So adjust your strike indicator a lot and adjust it often. By the way, the Oros and the Airlock strike indicators are expensive. They're worth it. But if you're using any others, I would use the cork or foam with a toothpick. Those seem to be the next best, if you ask me. And then there's the thingamabobbers. Thingamabobbers I used to always use because they're so light. Definitely the reason you want to use the smallest strike indicator you can is for casting safe. The bigger the strike indicator, the harder it is to cast. It's going to be the most cumbersome thing you can have. Even if your fly weighs more than your strike indicator, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how light it is. It's the air resistance of the strike indicator that really matters. Once again, I feel like I'm in about 1.5 feet of water. Have my my fly maybe 1.3 feet because the water's moving so quick through here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cast out in here, see if we're touching bottom. And remember, adjust your indicator as much as you need to. If you're ticking bottom too much, then move the indicator down so you don't tick the bottom as much. Oh, and there's a fish right there. Oh, yeah, baby. Nice, very nice. What is that? Looks like a decent brown. Let's see what we got here. Might be a late run salmon. We'll see. It's a good sized fish, I can tell you that. And I'm going to come over here a little bit, bring him over. Oh, it's a legally hooked fish too. Not illegally, legally. I hooked him in the mouth. I didn't hook him in the head. You can see where that flies way into his mouth. So, whoop. Come on. And I think that's a salmon. Yep. Nice. I'm going to try to kneel down without getting too wet. Oh, beautiful. Now, let's see what we can do here. Perfect. That is a salmon. And he's way inside the mouth here. You can see that, oh, I want to stick my fingers in there right now. You can see where he's hooked. He's hooked way up in the inside of his mouth. Get that out. That is a ugly salmon, but he took it, and he took it exactly. It's a big boy. So let's go over it one more time. What you need to do is you need to use a strike indicator that can float your fly. The smallest one you can find that'll float your fly. Don't use really bright colors in really shallow, clear water. Try using a white. You can see all these bubbles here, they're all white. It blends in better. Really bright strike indicators tend to scare fish. Set your fly initially at the water depth plus 6 inches, and then keep moving the strike indicator up your line 6 inches at a time until you hit bottom. Once you hit bottom, move the strike indicator back 3 inches on your line. If you use an Oros or you use an airlock, it's easy to move these by just untwisting them, moving it in your on your line, and then twisting them closed again. Once you have that all figured out, fish through, and if you touch bottom once in a while, that's good. You just want to be in that zone. So good luck and have fun fishing.